First off, congratulations on leading Geocon through its first AgentForce implementation. The first of many, and one of the first in the world. So a lot of organisations are curious to hear how that's gone next. If you could tell us a little bit about your AgentForce project, the first one, what was you were trying to achieve, and what drove your decision?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, some context on our business. We're a residential builder developer primarily, and we're also a hotelier. For us, we had one use case that sort of stood out. This is pre-AgentForce. It was something we were aware that we wanted to try to bridge a gap with, and that was specifically around how we manage our defect process post people selling in our apartments.
And I'm just curious as well, because you're one of the first to market with this approach. Why didn't you decide to just kick the can down the road and do this later?
I think that's probably a little bit to do with myself and also my team. We love innovation. So from my point of view, I think that although there is risk or was risk, we knew what generative AI could do in terms of bridging that sort of gap between human interaction and, an AI agent in this case, being able to guide someone through a process. So naturally, we were pretty optimistic, I guess, in what could be possible. So I think the stars aligned for us.
Perfect. And so finally, at what point did this all start to get real for you? AgentForce has been out in the market now, I think, since last September when it was announced at Dreamforce. And you were pretty quick to it. But at what point did you think, yep, we're going to give this a go?
That's probably when the pilot program became a thing. We had to move pretty quickly on it, but I think it was already on our radar. As soon as we sort of knew about it, we knew that there was a potential fit there. We had this one glaring use case, but that said, we actually probably have other use cases that it might end up being more helpful for.
Now, Andy, let's talk about implementation. What was it like to implement Salesforce, and how was it different to a typical Salesforce implementation?
I think it was quite different. It was obviously we had this particular implementation was time-based, so we had a pretty strict sort of agenda that we had to stick to, which made the whole process very dynamic. And then add to that, I think everyone was learning. So we were learning as we were deploying it, what it could do, what it couldn't do. I think Visio were definitely learning how to go about getting it to do the things that we knew that it could do. And then add on top of that, I think Salesforce were also learning as well, as they were getting in the feedback loop from customers like us saying, hey, how do we do this? We saw quite a few iterations of AgentForce throughout the time we were developing it.
Yeah, it sounds to me like it's been more of an iterative process, perhaps, than what you would experience on a typical Salesforce implementation.
Very much so.
Is that because it's new, or do you think that's just the nature of the product?
I think it is. Yeah, no, I think it is because it's new, and I think that we learned quite quickly that its capability is very, very vast.
For sure. All right. And so what surprised you most about the implementation? It could be something that was easier than you thought it was going to be, or even a challenge that you had to work through.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that shocked us was how quickly initially you could go from zero configuration to having a bot that was actually really, really helpful, just based on knowledge base articles. So I mean, I feel like this is some people's use case in a nutshell, which is just having an agent that can understand, whether it be company data, whether it be process-related or policy-related information, and be able to just answer anything, understand it, and answer not just a question, but actually understand context as well. So I think that's what took us back real quickly, was how you could get this thing off the ground and actually really, really helpful to your customer.
What's one impact that you saw early on, Andy, that made you think, yes, this was absolutely the right decision?
Yeah, look, I think it's the ability for an agent to really fundamentally appear to be a human on the end of a chat window. So, it's context, it's language, it's understanding. I think that although we're pretty well versed with ChatGPT in general, I think that when you see it all play out in your own environment with your own information, it's pretty amazing.
Fantastic. And so now, having completed your first implementation, now how are you thinking about AgentForce?
I think even before we completed our implementation, you sort of, as you work through it, you start to think, well, what's next? And it's really easy for us to apply some of the things we learned through our first deployment and look at. I mean, for us, we're already looking at sitting AgentForce in front of our lead process. So whether it be ingesting our inquiry on some of our websites, our project pages, to actually qualifying our leads. For us, as soon as we got our head around what the capability was, it was very easy for us to start to look at where we could apply this in other parts of our business.
That's fantastic. I kind of get the impression with customers that it's almost like once you dive in, you start to round out your perspective of what's possible.
Absolutely. I think, and I understand why AI, for a lot of organizations, is hard to approach. Before AgentForce, we knew how powerful generative AI could be, but it's always hard to understand where to put it in your business. So we were lucky in this case. For us, Salesforce is one of a couple of platforms that is our single source of truth, essentially. A lot of data in there, and a lot of business processes are fired from Salesforce. So to sort of be able to bring one of our major line of business applications and then blend that with the generative AI capability, I think it was really easy for us to go, hey, here's how we want to tackle this. And from that and our learnings, to be able to see how, where we can put this in the future.